Hello, I'm Dr. Sleepright, and welcome to day 7. So, some way or another, we all like to be in control. And there's no worse time than at night to try to be in control of your thoughts. In day 7, we're talking about a sleep hack to be able to get yourself to sleep. You see, you cannot think yourself to sleep. You have to remember yourself to sleep, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We all like to think about things and think about life and be in our brains and think because we're in control of our thoughts. We love to be in control. But at night, the problem is when you're thinking, the blood's in this part of your brain, and the sleep centers are in this part of your brain. So if you're thinking, you can't put yourself to sleep. So when you're thinking all day long about things that happen today and things that are going to happen tomorrow, things that you have to do tomorrow, you're in the wrong part of your brain. Your sleep centers are in the back part of your brain where your memories are. So you want to be able to focus. If you want to be able to focus on something, you can't focus on thinking. You have to focus on remembering. I just recently played golf for the first time in 2 years, and if you notice, I mean, if you heard my why behind the sleep quest, that's how part of the reason why I herniated my disc so many years ago. And so what ended up happening is I was really nervous about that, but I had one shot, and I can think about that shot for the next week going to bed. So I remember everything about the shot, about the swing, how the ball landed, what the environment was, the smells, and you focus on remembering something, a good event that happened in the past, and you'll start to shift the blood from this part of your brain to the back part of your brain. That is why, like, the mindless things like counting sheep will help you to fall asleep. But the problem with counting sheep is you're like 1, 2, 6, 3, 4. It's still something that you got to kind of think about. So like different things that you can focus on that don't require thinking, that require more of a repetitive, mindless thought. In the way that what I typically tell my patients is to think about things far back. So the further back you can go, or the more consistent you are with that specific thought you're remembering, and remember the same thought over and over and over again. Because your body, once you fall asleep on one thought, it's easier for your body to fall asleep on that thought over and over and over again. So this is something that definitely takes work. It takes a lot of work to be able to get out of our own minds. And we'll be going to be talking about different things to clear our minds, because at night it's a very addictive time to think, because as you're dozing off, your brain starts to, your blood starts to go from the front part of your brain to the back part of your brain, and there's a very specific time where you can remember and think at the same time. So it's very addictive to think, because you think you can solve a lot of problems, but when you fall asleep, they're gone. What you think you're solving, you will not remember when you wake up. And if you try to remember it when you wake up, you're going to mess up your sleep the whole night. That's why it's important to have a journal by your bed. We'll be talking about that. But and the last point I want to make is a story on this. And I believe it was Thomas Edison. He used to, when he came up with a problem, he would have these silver balls in his hands, and he would lie down on a recliner, and he'd have these thimbles, right? These thimbles on the ground. So when you close your eyes and you go to fall asleep and you start to relax, what ends up happening is like I said, your blood starts to go from this part of your brain to this part of your brain, and he would go into the state with the problem. And he'd go into the state, he'd close his eyes, and then he'd think about the problem, and he'd be able to solve the problem, because he's in both parts of his brain. And because the more we think, the worse we can remember. But when you're in that state, it's very addictive to think. And then right before you go to sleep, what the body does is it gets rid of muscle contraction, right? So if you're running, your body doesn't want you running, so it paralyzes you almost. So he would drop the balls, they would hit the thimbles, and he'd wake up and he'd come out of that state with the answers. So, in lieu of doing that, because you don't want to do that at night because we want to stay asleep, my point in making that story, telling you that story, is it's a very addictive time to think. And you can stay in that subconscious thinking, remembering all night long, and it'll mess up your quality of sleep. It'll mess up your sleep patterns. So we're going to be talking about clearing your brain, clearing your thoughts, but for the focus of this, we want you to understand that you can't think yourself to sleep. You have to remember yourself to sleep. So if you want to focus on something, focus on remembering something in the past and remember it over and over and over and over again. This is a real powerful one, guys. This is something that has changed the way I sleep, and more specifically, changed how quickly I'm able to go to sleep. And remember, the further in the past that you can remember the memory, the quicker you'll fall asleep. Try it, and I love to hear your wins and challenges on the Facebook page, and send some questions over, because we'll be reviewing this one on one of our live calls. Thank you.